Hello, folks, and welcome to another exciting DS9 commentary. Today, I have Geek in Review with me. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How about yourself?
Not bad, not bad. Today, we're gonna be commenting on a very special episode called "Captive Pursuit."
Yeah, it was the first episode of Deep Space Nine that I ever watched, and I've not seen it in probably about, God, at least maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years, so I'm looking forward to rewatching
It's the one with Tosk, if I
it.
remember. Yes,
Yes, absolutely. The first sort of big, or the first alien that I think came through the wormhole.
it's a great O'Brien episode too, if I remember.
Yeah, I think it's the first O'Brien episode of Deep Space Nine. That's what's threw me the first time I watched it as like a 10-year old or however old I was. I couldn't work out why this guy from the next generation was getting his own episodes.
Yeah, I love O'Brien. I love the fact that he came over and he got this huge role because on TNG, he was just like a day player at first. He wasn't really supposed to be anything.
Mhm.
And they're like, we like this guy. We like his accent.
Yeah, and it worked out in a big way for everyone.
All right, let's get started. We're gonna do a 3 second countdown, and on after three, we press play.
Sure.
All right. So three, two, one, go. I'm not what a lot of people think. It's oh, she's a double girl.
What species is she though? We don't get her again or get our species again, do we?
I don't recognize it. I don't know if there's a name on it. There may have been some other aliens with that design, but I can't remember.
Yeah, I think Deep Space Nine threw a lot of make-up alien faces in the first season or two for the background.
Oh, she's making a sexual harassment claim.
It's pretty ahead of its time when you think about it.
He's getting me too'd right now.
Yeah, as Quark should though. But it must work out
Uh,
for him to see he's got franchises and Picard and stuff.
what do you think? What do you think it said in the thing? It requires her to, and he stopped. But I don't know. Is it Umax or something else? Because Umax
Something
are pretty
like
sexual for Ferengi, you know.
that. Yeah, I would imagine it's like 5 minute breaks every 6 hours and something.
At least they acknowledge uh, Quark's misogyny.
Yeah. Oh, they kind of play it for fun later on in the later seasons.
Yeah.
There's one thing that kind of bothers me watching this as an adult is the scale of Tusk's ship. Because when you see inside of it, it's just like a cockpit. But when it came out the wormhole, it looked like the size of the Enterprise. Absolutely brilliant makeup.
Yeah, it's really good. This guy's Scott McDonald.
Yeah, great voice. He's got that one of those actors that's like Tony Todd, where he pops up and everything. You just recognise his voice straight away.
He was Sub Commander Navek in Face of the Enemy. He was also in Voyager and Enterprise.
Yeah, he was one of the. He was the main Xindi reptilian, wasn't he?
Commander Dolim.
I think so. I can't remember.
Commander Dolim.
I love as well how this is like considered action in the early episodes of Deep Space Nine compared to what they were doing in the last season with all the starship battles.
Yeah. Yes, he did play as Indy.
Yeah, so as soon as you hear the guy's voice, you just know who it is straight away. Here's a question I was going to bring up, but I'll bring it up straight away. Do you think that the Tusk species, if that's even their name, are in any way related to the Jem'Hadar?
No, probably not. It's just
Oops, sorry, my phone went off. Sorry, mate.
it's probably just a design choice.
I just thought because the lizard thing and the fact it could be invisible, I always hoped that they would link that up, and they never done it, and it kind of broke my heart a little bit.
Maybe the Jem'Hadar were inspired by
Yeah.
Tosk.
But I remember watching these credits for the first time and just thinking, okay, this is going to be, a slow burner compared to the next generation.
Yeah, there's no ship zooming by or anything.
Yeah,
What do
you
you
don't
think?
get.
Where would you rank this theme?
Well, they kind of change it half in season four. So the initial one, once you hear it a couple of times, you get bored of it. I always skipped it. I think when they kind of remixed it or gave it a kind of jazzy thing when they brought in Worf, it was a little bit better, but it was not the most compelling. I always preferred Voyager as my favourite theme.
It sounds that at first it sounded to me like a Starfleet funeral procession or something. You know, it's like something you would play to honor the fallen or something.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you put it on one of these like Civil War documentaries with sort of brown and yellow photos, it would work perfectly.
I love the theme and I like the variation on it later, but I've always wanted them to put this theme in a movie and like make it grand, make it very grand almost. But you
Yeah,
know,
the theme's very sweeping and theatrical, and there's just nothing theatrical going on the screen. But other than you're getting the sort of size or scope of what you're going to watch in terms of the space station.
me and Starfleet Boy noticed when we watched a few of these that the music in the background, I didn't really appreciate it until, well, I rewatched it 3 years ago and I noticed it then. But I'm listening to most of these on headphones now, and I can kind of hear the score. And you'll get the DS9 theme creep in there, like towards an end of an episode or something. I mean, the dun 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 part, like just
Yeah.
little things.
Well, I remember watching a behind the scenes making of Deep Space Nine that must have been season one, and they were actually talked about how the music impacts the show, and they showed you a clip of them just filming a scene and then the actual scene the way that we see it without music. And yeah, when you've not got the music there, you don't realise how crucial it is in the background, even if you're not noticing.
Mm. Dennis McCarthy was the composer in this show. I'm really too familiar with him.
No, I've not really heard that much of his work or familiar with his name either.
He did. Oh, did he? Okay, let's look up his credits here. This episode has a boy and his dog kind of vibe.
A little bit, but compared to sort of early Deep Space Nine episodes, this one is a bit more thrilling because Trek's always suffered, well, at least since Next Generation, always suffered sort of tonal problems in the first two seasons, and this one kind of stands alone. That it doesn't go too much into the world of the characters.
He did the music for Generations,
Oh, okay.
which doesn't have the best, overall movie score when you compare it to like First Contact or.
Yeah, the fact that I can't remember any of the themes in it, it shows how memorable it is.
But he did do 88 episodes of The Next Generation,
Oh, okay.
77 episodes of DS9, and 30 episodes of Enterprise, which he was nominated for all three shows for an Emmy.
Really? Oh,
Yep.
okay. Surprising. I know I said it a few minutes ago, but that makeup is absolutely fantastic. Even the eyes and stuff.
Yeah, I wonder. That's like an eight. That's one of those 8-hour jobbies.
Yeah, definitely, because he's still got the expression in his cheekbones and kind of his brows as well. And I don't know if he's trying to do it or it might just be a side effect of the makeup. I'm sure there's a few scenes where he's sort of like heavily breathing through his nose, kind of the way that the Velociraptors do in Jurassic Park.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the things about DS9 that made it stand apart, I think, from TNG was they really went like the extra mile with some of the alien makeup. Not only like up close, like him with Tosk and the whole head and shoulder piece and arms and stuff, but even just aliens in the background that walk by, and that guy, the person walking by, has been in the chair for, I don't know, like 2-3 hours, and it's just to have them in the background.
Yeah, it looks absolutely fantastic. But again, that's one thing that kind of bothers me about Trek is you see it all the times, especially in the films in the 80s when you seen like Starfleet Command. You seen all these really cool aliens, but then you don't really know anything about them other than they're just cool background aliens.
It's almost as if the more elaborate the background aliens are, the less chance you'll ever see them up close and speaking, because a lot of them are full face masks. Like the Cations in Star Trek 4, it's like you can't see that practically working in a scene, but they're cool to see in the background. They're just like cat masks.
Yeah, at least with Star Wars, they kind of follow up the background characters a little bit.
Mm. Not only does this guy have the like almost a full body makeup thing,
Mm.
it's those contacts as well, which are not comfortable.
Oh yeah, look, I occasionally wear glasses, but I could never put contacts in my eye. That's just one thing I couldn't do. So I always respect actors that do that when they don't need to do it for like 16, 18-hour days.
Yeah.
What I don't understand, though, when we're talking about the makeup, is why have they not covered his hands to save money when you can sort of see below his elbow? They could just make it full sleeves and save a bit of money.
Maybe it was just to show more body, more
Yeah.
alien.
When I look at his chest, it reminds me of Pinhead from the Hellraiser films as well.
Yeah. It's funny. They don't address it, and I don't really care. Suspension to disbelief or whatever. But they just met this dude, and they just automatically can communicate with him. I understand he's not really speaking English, and
Mm.
whatever. It's a universal translator thing. But it's like how quickly are they catching his language? Do they scan his ship and his language banks or something? And then so the first time he's on screen, they just understand him right away, because it seems like he's like there's still a translation issue, like because it seems like he's trying a little bit harder to understand. And
Yeah, I know what you mean, but it's obviously a kind of narrative issue that if you'd done that every week, it would just get a bit old till they created a program or the upgrade that solved the problem.
mm,
But one thing that kind of bothered me about Deep Space Nine mostly is that when they encounter alien technologies, they can generally work out what it is straight away. I think they mentioned in the Dominion War that there's some issues with them understanding how the Dominion ship works, but I thought if you encountered that a bit more often, it'd be a bit more interesting.
yeah, Quark throwing somebody out of his bar. You don't see that very often. Bolian.
I know, we need more Bolians, I say it all the time. That's a bit of a belly he's got on that suit. Do you think it's just the makeup?
Mm. It seems like O'Brien's enjoying being like a little diplomat here.
Yeah, I think maybe with years being in the transporter room in the Enterprise and watching everyone come off, then walk out that door and leave him, he's trying to have his chance.
Yeah, it's like I want to talk to one of these aliens.
I just love the way he moves his tusk. It's just so animalistic and different.
Yeah.
And you don't get a lot of these guest actors that put in that much effort when it comes to the performance, sadly.
I like the way he says O'Brien. Oh, Brian. And in the subtitles, it's literally spelled O-H Brian.
So I was not paying attention to. But I originally thought that this was the way that Deep Space Nine was going to go. It was going to be like a kind of new alien race every week to build up the story.
Yeah, that's what I thought. this was this was one of the episodes I don't know if it was my favorite, but it was one of the better ones I liked when I was a kid. I mean, I like them all as an adult, but this was
Yeah, a lot of
this is a very
the
kid friendly episode because it's like he's like I don't want to say he's like a pet, but he's like an alien fish out of water. It's like it's reminiscent of E.T. Old Yeller. I don't know. It's weird. It's like
yeah, I
this
know what you mean.
like you imagine yourself as a kid as O'Brien, like being friendly to this guy, and like there's a mystery about him. He's looking for the weapons now, so we don't
Mm.
know if we should trust him. And you don't want O'Brien to get screwed over.
I suppose it's sort of good, and it's not really a twist, but when you think of aliens, like the lizard aliens, you always automatically think they're evil. So it is a kind of good spin on it that he isn't evil and he doesn't have some kind of plan to destroy the station or the wormhole or take over the universe. He just wants to go about his business at the end of the day.
Yeah,
But yeah, as you mentioned, look, this is one of the better earlier episodes because when it gets to the end of season one and the start of season two, it gets a bit heavy into the politics of Bajor, which when you're watching it as a kid isn't as interesting as meeting a new alien.
yeah. I struggled with the Bajoran inner workings. Like when I think there's an episode where in this season where Kira goes down to Bajor. It's like
Mm.
most of the episode is set down there. I remember like, wow, this is it's pretty boring. But it gets there's a lot of setup in season one that does pay off to a degree. A lot of the first episode I noticed when I watched it reflects the very last episode in a lot of ways. I think that was totally intentional.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
love Kyle Paka too, but she doesn't last, does she?
No, that was another good episode, the one where they take her out and it was a sort of battle royale situation. I really enjoyed that. I had always hoped that they'd go back to that planet and bring her back, but never happened.
No. You're the most natural straight man I've met in ages. That's a good line.
He used to work with Data though, come on.
Yeah. His head tilts. It's like,
Yeah, well, it was kind of like what you say, it's like a pet, it's like a dog if you ever talk to a dog and it does that back to you.
mm,
I always hated those grey Bajoran uniforms, they look terrible.
I like these two extras off to the right. They're doing a good extra job.
Oh yeah,
It
that
seems like they're
guy's a
having a real
lot.
conversation, but they're not actually speaking, right? The actors are just miming.
Well, what I found out this week, I was listening to the Delta Flyers podcast that Garrett Wang and Robert Duncan McNeil do, is when they do need background noise for, let's say, they're in 10 Forward or Quark's Bar, there's like a group of 5 actors that just get them in a sound booth and record them talking separately, and they do it at like the end of the season, which is weird.
Yeah. They can't have people talking in the
Yeah.
background over the lines because it's so much harder to edit, and they'd have to ADR a lot of shit. That's why if you see episodes of a show where the camera zoomed in on them on a beach, and there could be boom mics off camera somewhere, but it's like
Yeah.
a lot of that is replaced later because of sound of seagulls or the waves and
Mhm.
stuff overlap. I like this.
I just love the way that Quark is sized. It's like looking two animals looking, through the glass at each other at the zoo or something, isn't it?
Yeah, he's trying to get him in the hollow suite. I always wonder, they don't show a lot of what goes on in the hollow suites, but I'm sure a lot of it is nasty as hell.
Oh yeah, imagine like when you turn off the holo suites, there's all sorts of nastiness left there, and empty pizza boxes and beer bottles and God knows all what as well.
Mm.
I think that's one of Clark's best lines is when he says, "I envy you, Mr. Task." I thought that was absolutely fantastic the way he
Yeah,
delivered it.
it's like you want for nothing except whatever it is you're doing currently.
Yeah, and again, it's because they haven't really established the characters. You get the feeling that if this was Quark in season 5, he wouldn't give up. He would just keep going.
Yeah. Those cups are great because they're hard to tip over.
Yeah, they're actually designed. I think they were designed for the Navy for stuff like that. So the weights at the bottom.
Yeah.
I would love it if Tosk had hung about and actually became O'Brien's like BFF rather than Bashir.
Sorry, my headphones fell off.
I'm just saying, I would love it if Tosk had hung about and became O'Brien's BFF instead of Bashir.
That'd be so hard for that actor to do a daily,
Yeah, they
weekly
just give him
show
a
in that
uniform
makeup.
or something, so they less makeup.
That's why they've never, I think out of all, like Neelix and Saru or, Doug Jones and Ethan
Mm-mm.
Phillips probably had the worst time in terms of makeup because those, I can't, there's other examples I'm sure, but those ones
Well,
stand
Doug
out as
Jones has got
like,
the heels though, so I think that's the extra factor with him. He's got those weird hoofed heels.
yeah, and like the amount of sweat, and what happens with foam latex is when you sweat through it, it becomes heavy. A lot of people don't realize that it actually like gets really heavy. For example, the foam latex they use on the Jurassic Park T Rex. The scenes in the rain. The thing would start
Mm-hmm.
malfunctioning because it weighed like a ton
Ah,
more because all the and what happened is it made the animatronic look fatter. So the
mm-hmm.
CGI artists had to match the kind of extra fatness of the T Rex in the CG shots to the animatronics.
Yeah, it never occurred to me that stuff like that would obviously affect the material, but I just love this bit where Odo is just not giving a fuck. He's just
Yeah,
like, "You're not going anywhere, son."
he's not being a complete prick about it either. He understands that this guy's different, and he's
Oh yeah, I think because Odo's different, he's aware that he doesn't know what this guy's capable of, so that's why he's just, "I'll let him run loose and then corner him rather than back him into a corner straight away."
oh Brian.
It's coming up spelled normally in my subtitles.
You're on Netflix, and
I'm on Netflix, yeah.
I am as well. That's strange how they have different English subtitles. It's like there's a difference between there's some differences in the Canadian and I guess European version of Lower Decks and the American. There's like
Yeah, I
there.
remember watching one of your rewatch streams, and I think it was Discovery, and you and Starfleet Boy were at a totally different bit.
Yeah, it's I forget what episode, but there's a caption in the American version and there's no caption in the other version. It says like so many weeks later.
I'm just keeping an eye out for words that are spelled differently, like analysing things, in case it's just British subtitles.
They still don't reveal what's going on. It's like halfway through and it's still a mystery. But I know what it is. But
Yeah, it's great. It's a
they
great first episode to introduce the sort of concept of aliens coming from the other side rather than us looking for them. Because we don't get any other knowledge about the society other than they enjoy the hunt. So, as I said, I think they could be casually related to the Jem'Hadar, or maybe an offshoot of the Herodian and Voyager, or maybe they just borrowed that idea for Voyager.
they
But
they still have the opportunity in some show to connect those two. I mean,
oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
I want another. I know Picard's like cool and everything, but well, not for me. I want another post Nemesis show. I mean, I would love a new DS9 show. I mean, I don't. I mean, I think it's the perfect opportunity. It's the perfect time for one because the variety of aliens that you could accomplish now, and just revisiting ones we already seen.
Mhm.
I mean, just build that promenade again. People would go nuts. Me and Father were talking about that. Like, that's like the ultimate wet dream if they announced a new DS9 or a show set on that station. Or,
Well,
you know,
yeah, I think
even a show set on a station or whatever, you know.
what I'd like to see if they brought back Deep Space Nine is bring it back, but bring the station back as a sort of recurring character. So maybe your storyline is it's about the first Federation expedition into the Gamma Quadrant since the end of the war. So it can occasionally cut back to Deep Space Nine, a bit like maybe Stargate Command in the Stargate show.
I imagine if they ever had just a brief moment on DS9 in a new show, not like anything maybe recurring, but they would probably just build the office where like Kira is running
Yeah.
the show, and they wouldn't probably do the whole promenade. But if they ever did do a show, they'd probably do like the whole promenade. You know, where you only got in
Mm.
this show you got a certain section of it that they keep visiting, and there's so much of the station in the show that we don't see. We literally only see like 7 or 8 different of the same areas, mainly like ops, the hallways, the same hallways, which
Yeah, there's an
double for
episode.
like 17 other hallways. You know what I mean? That's always like I always try to cheat like things are in different places, but they're the same spot.
Yeah, I wish we'd seen a bit more of what the changes that they made when they were installing all the weapons for Way of the Warrior and stuff like that as well. Or I had always hoped that they'd integrate the Starfleet technology a little bit more.
And I know it's like a nitpick that doesn't really matter, but it doesn't feel as big as it looks.
Yeah,
Like you see the cargo bay and stuff, that seems very small, and or just store, certain areas. But I mean, for what it is, it's a great set,
well,
especially for
yeah,
something in the '90s. The
Star Trek's
lighting is
always
excellent.
oh, absolutely, but Star Trek's always had problems with scale because you think in the first episode, Emissary, when the Enterprise is docked with the station, there's 1,000 people on the Enterprise, and you don't get the sense that there's that many people on the station, and it's like 5 times the size of the ship.
Yeah,
I love these aliens the first time I seen them. I just remember thinking, how are they seeing out of those helmets?
yeah. That's where Zack Snyder got the idea for Batman's gauntlets that absorb all the energy. Oh wait! No, they took that from Wonder Woman. Never mind, they stole that from Wonder Woman.
I always wondered as well if it was the suits that absorbed the energy or they were just naturally like a bit tougher than most humanoids.
It's there's a device on the. Oh well, I can't really see it. I thought there was some kind of metal thing that.
Yeah, I think it's something like that, but that guy is holding a variation. It would have been, or what will be, the Jem'Hadar rifle as well.
Be right back.
Yep.
This is such a simple effect, but it works.
Oh yeah, and
It's like it's so analog.
the reason it works as well is it's just Predator, and that this came out maybe 5 or 6 years after Predator, and it hadn't really been done since.
Yeah, they do take some elements of that movie.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think I must have seen Predator at the time I watched this.
Doug Drexler was like, guys, I think we should lose the dreadlocks because it's gonna look too similar. This actor is also very good. He's in a lot of Trek.
Oh, yeah, I can't remember his name, but I know exactly the guy you mean.
Garrett Graham.
That's the one. Yes, I always thought this beaming in effect was cool as well. But that was sort of broadband to the Federation dial-up transporter.
He's been in Babylon 5 and Star Trek Voyager in an episode called Death Wish.
Yes, he's the Q. That's who he is. Yeah. God, that makeup's amazing. You can't tell it's him.
Also like Corbin Burnson's Q as well.
Oh yeah, I forgot about him because he shows up in the shuttlecraft, doesn't he? Well, one thing that never occurred to me is if this is a hunt, when they kill him, do they eat him or what? Or is it a sort of predator thing where they just stick his head on a wall?
It's like children will make fun of you and toss you scraps of food.
Yeah.
It seems so harsh. But see, I love the approach in this episode because you're meant to be shocked and, appalled by the society's customs.
Mm-hmm.
But then when Tosk, eventually explains things, you're like, oh, and it kind of opens your mind, even though you don't agree with what they're doing. You're like, oh, different cultures are different, and this is their tradition. And at the end, they find a way to honor, Tosk, or O'Brien does a mutiny or whatever. But I don't know, it's strange because it's an episode that doesn't take sides. It's just showing you one side and the other, and it's not forcing you to make a moral decision of any kind.
Well, that's sort of genius of the writing, and it would show, obviously, in the later seasons and episodes. But the one thing, or the one bit I really love about this episode that's coming up in a couple of minutes, is when he is escaping and Cisco tells Odo to take his time. And you're like, whoa, Picard would never do that to Riker or Worf or anything,
Yeah. He's so angry. He's like he's like offended. He's like, abuse. No, no, sir, you have it all wrong.
You just wonder, like, how often did they do this? Is it once a year, once 10 years kind of thing, or is it just going on every weekend? Like it's paintball for us or something?
I don't know. I don't think they specify.
Mm.
I assume it goes on quite frequently. But it does seem a little one note, like the Tosk are only there to be chased. Like, what other do they have any other purpose or like any other thing that they use them for? Are they adorned in their society, like treated like kings, and then just one day it's like run?
Well, yeah, again, going back to the Jem'Hadar, because they gave them a bit of the backstory that they, if you live, I think it's 14 or 16 years, you're considered an elder. But with this guy, what happens? Do they just hunt him the rest of his life until they get lucky, or do they give up at a certain point?
Yeah, like if he gets away like permanently, does that mean he's honored more? It's like, I don't know.
This is kind of a weird episode though, because so early on, they're not focusing on like any of the other characters. It's just an O'Brien episode, which is kind of ballsy. But again, it's because he's a recognizable character. They could do that.
Well, that's what I liked about TNG in this show is that, TNG, yes, Picard was the star, the main character, and Cisco's the main character here.
Mm-hmm.
But they were never afraid to just stay with the supporting characters and just do like a Riker or a Troy or a Beverly or a Data episode or a Geordi episode. They do the same thing here. It's like some of the Kira Nerys episodes in the first season, I'm not all that into. They do an Odo episode. They do O'Brien. It's funny how they don't focus on Cisco. Cisco is really a supporting character for a lot of the show, but he becomes much more the focus later, like in terms of coming back to the whole
Mhm.
prophet thing. But I can't think of many episodes that early on that focus specifically on him.
Yeah, again, it's because you know his character, and it's the first chance after how many years he was on TNG, 4 or 5, to show what this guy can do rather than just say "ICER" when someone says "energize." It must be really difficult for that actor to hear as well because he's got no holes for his ears.
Yeah, I suppose they might. No, well, that's like Armin Shimmerman. You don't really see holes in those ears.
Mm.
There's no. That's what I think. If they updated the Ferengi makeup, they would probably improve certain elements because it does look very plasticky when you look back at it now and stiff.
Yeah, I always found Quark worked well because you could see his entire head, whereas with almost every other Ferengi, they had that kind of little cutaway thing on the back of their skull.
Yeah, they can do better things with alien skin now. Like those air, like if they did Ferengis now, I think the eyebrows could be more flexible and the ears could be a little translucent, like actual cartilage. Like if some bright light was shining right behind them, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, that'd be really good actually.
and the depth of the ear holes themselves. Like, but yeah, I really respect those actors for going through the process of wearing this
It
awful
must
makeup, and every
sound
time
great.
it's
Yeah, it must sound
say,
great till you get in the makeup chair for the first 5 hours.
yeah, and that irritates your skin, and for some people, it'll drive them crazy. It's like ants. I've heard it described as ants crawling on your skin.
Yeah, I think Michael Dorn got chemical burns in the first few years of Next Generation.
Yeah, he suffered some skin damage. Um, I don't know if it was after the show itself ended or after one of the movies, but Michael Dorn was talking about how he'll never do it again because
Yeah,
he
oh,
hates
yeah, I
the
can
makeup.
imagine. I think he actually sued them and he got a bit of money sometime in the early 90s.
Ah, that's why they won't give him his own show now. Damn it. Oh, he's doing a little sabotage.
Mm.
He must be embarrassed to the fullest extent. We put him on a leash and we spit on him.
Yeah, it's very like Cersei in Games of
That
Thrones when she got shamed by the sound of it.
that's funny. That part right there. It's a little convenient too. He's like orders from Cisco, and Odo's like, "Oh, we'll see about that." And he storms off to physically walk to
Yeah.
Cisco when he could
Yeah,
have
I
just
never
asked
thought
him.
about that.
It's okay. I don't mind. That's like such a badass rebel move when a Starfleet officer's like, "Fuck the badge."
Yeah, I think this is one of the first times they've done it. Because obviously Deep Space Nine went down the road occasionally of Starfleet officers being the villain, and that was like totally sort of against Roddenberry's ethos of humanity's evolved beyond inner conflict.
And here's another little nitpicky issue. When they can't get a hold of them because they don't have the comm badges, they can't just go over the loudspeaker and say,
Yeah,
"Listen here, you bastard. You better get to the office right now. You know who you are." Don't even have to name him. He's like the one Starfleet officer going around without the comm badge. You're like, yeah, he's talking to you, pal.
just look
It's a
at those boots the sort of alien commanders got on. They're almost chaps. They're like Julia Roberts' Pretty Women boots.
this part. This jump is crazy.
Oh yeah, yeah, I forgot about this.
The stunt itself is a little clunkily edited, but that was crazy for
Yeah, they
to have
always
like
kind
a
of done the
wire
same
stunt like
action
that.
shots in the promenade that it was people shooting up or shooting down from the lower levels.
Those balconies are just high enough that when somebody falls off them, they don't necessarily die.
Yeah,
I like, yeah, this is the part you were talking about. There's no hurry.
yeah, you
Odo's
just can't
like,
imagine Picard doing that, and that's when I realised, that, oh, this show is a bit different.
yeah, I can't imagine Picard doing it in the show, but in the movies, he's a different beast altogether.
Yeah.
He's all like, who are we to determine the course of evolution for these people? I'm gonna do an insurrection. It's like he's more of a rebel. Like even in First Contact, he's all like fucking Action Jackson.
Oh yeah, the bit when him and Worf square up to each other. Another problem that's or not a problem, but one thing you always notice, or I always notice in the early seasons of Star Trek, is they make so many little changes to the uniforms and the colours and how it hangs off people and things as well.
Yeah, I
Because
think because
Odo's uniform doesn't really
they go back and
change.
watch the episodes after they're done. They're like, yeah, we can improve on that and change this. And
Because when you watch the first few episodes of Enterprise, the uniform is such a dark blue compared to what the almost grey it was later on.
oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know if it's maybe
Notice.
just my TV, but when I go back and watch Enterprise, I'm always surprised about how dark the uniforms are in the first season.
He knocked him out pretty easily.
Mm-hmm. That was just sort of standard Star
It's like
Trek move, wasn't it? Give
it's
him
like
the
when
old
you
double
watch
fists.
yeah, if you watch the old show, they just like hit somebody once and they're gone. I remember thinking like he killed all these people, but it turns out he didn't.
I just love that noise when they beam in. Oof. But even the way when he's like running down the corridor, moving over the bodies, he just maintains that sort of animalistic stance.
Excuse me. One day's task is enough for me. I like how Tusk want. He's like, "Do you want to be my friend? You want to come with me?" He's like, "No, dude. It's not my bag."
Yeah, Bashir might have said yeah, but not Brian.
Go on, boy. Get out of here. Go. And Tusk's
Now
like,
you said that, I can't
"Oh."
unsee Chris Pratt in Jurassic World.
Mm-hmm. It's a great moment.
Mm-hmm.
The dressing down he gets from Cisco is brilliant too. And there's a little touch at the end because Cisco wanted it's like, yeah, let this happen. This is the best thing. And O'Brien's excuses for doing what he did to is hilarious.
Yeah, it's kind of like the way a teenager would argue his logic a little bit. But yeah, I just wonder what happened in Cisco's past that made him this way, because we never really get too much of a look at what he was like before Deep Space Nine. So why is he so sort of, okay, bend the rules if it's morally right, or bend the rules if it's suitable? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Oh, sorry, just started a little bit there.
he's like pretty much threatening to kick him off the station if he does anything like that again. But oh no, it's not.
Yeah, but he kind of does later on that episode where him and Bashir get stranded with the Jem'Hadar and he disobeys Bashir to save him.
Uh, I never expected him to like turn around and acknowledge like, "Hey, you let me do this."
Yeah, when he's explaining his sort of plan as well, he's like, "Oh, I thought we'd get cornered." Then why were you doing it if you thought you were going to get caught?
Well, I guess he was probably taking the chance that he would get help, and he did, which was
Yeah,
crazy. And then he smiles because he's like, "Yeah." It's like he respects O'Brien for doing what he did, but he can't. He's got to do the formal kind
yeah.
of.
Imagine on O'Brien's file there's probably a very small line or sentence or two about what happened, nothing else.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a great episode. I mean, as far as first season episodes of DS9 go,
Oh
and it
yeah,
was very
definitely.
episodic. It's almost like one you can if you want to introduce somebody to DS9, that would be a great one.
Yeah, again, it was the first episode of Deep Space Nine that I ever seen, and apart from the fact I couldn't really get a handle around the characters just by watching that one episode, looking back now, it doesn't make a difference because you don't get anything from them anyway. You know, not until later on, but certainly focusing on O'Brien, you watching this episode for the first time, I had no idea who Kira, Dax, and all those people were.
Yeah, they weren't even present at all, were they?
Yeah, you don't
There
even get,
was
other than the last scene with O'Brien, you don't even get a real sense of what Cisco's like.
Yeah, it's mainly just O'Brien and Tusk. I really do like Scott McDonald, though. I mean, I love him in Face of the Enemy, and he's great. This is probably like his best Trek role because it's the one that stands out to me. And in the DS9 documentary, What We Left Behind, they kind of talk about it briefly, or they show an HD clip, and to see that actor in HD in that makeup,
Mm.
like you really see how painstaking it is. And you know, to be fair, some of the makeup in TNG and DS9, when you see it in HD, you can see the seams. But if it's like a full face mask or like really elaborate makeup, it looks really, really good. Like Corrosions or, Jem'Hadar or Tusk.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get the full HD treatment at some point.
Yeah. One can only hope. Hopefully by the time this broadcasts, they've made the announcement that they're going to remaster Voyager DS9. And then I wake up from that dream.
Well, if they're putting 5 shows on and they're giving Alex Kurtzman 150 million for the next 5 years, I'm sure they can throw a few million to remaster a couple of old seasons even.
Yeah, it would take about, if they did them both at the same time, it would take like 4 to 6 years, and it would probably be about, I don't know, $40 to $50 million.
Christ, I didn't think it was going to be that much.
Well, TNG took 4 years and cost 12 million, so it's three. They basically paid people like a whole staff 3 million a year,
Mm.
costs and everything. And
But we
I
need
would
to see
imagine
it.
DS9 and Voyager would be more expensive because there are more CGI elements in both, especially Voyager. There's way more CGI. There's the most CGI than any other Trek show to that up until that point, and
Yeah, but we need to see it because TNG, whenever I put it on, it, given it was 1987, it started 87, 88, it looked in HD and remastered, it just looks as if it was made today.
it. I find the first two seasons have that '80s film grain to them when you watch them on. I have the two seasons on Blu-ray, and then when you watch the rest in HD, it's like that '90s brighter lit, like less grainy kind of look. But with DS9, when you see, especially Voyager 2, they did a lot of low lighting, and like they didn't saturate the sets as much.
Mhm.
And it was especially with Deep Space Nine, they used a lot of natural lighting, and that looks amazing when you actually see it in the true 35 millimeter form, right? But yeah, thank you so much, Geek, for joining me,
No problem, man.
and,
Thanks for having me.
and hopefully we can continue these commentaries. I have like 160 some more to go.
No, yeah, it was just lucky that this is one of my standout episodes. And when you messaged me to do it, you said the first 4 are done. I'm like, well, it's got to be number 5 for me to get the first season out of the way.
Yeah, it's it's an interesting undertaking. I don't know if it. Hopefully, I can see it all the way through. Starfleet Boy did every single episode of TNG, but he didn't do commentary. They did discussions.
Ah,
It's
okay.
like 3.5 years he was doing that.
Wow. Yeah, I was going to do it with the Clone Wars cartoon at the start of the year, and I thought it's like 178 episodes, and I was like, I'll get bored by episode 30 and not want to do this anymore.
But I love DS9 so much. I mean, I don't mind rewatching it. Like I said,
It's definitely.
I watched it 3 years ago when the documentary came out, and I said I wasn't gonna watch it again until they remaster it. I'm like, screw it, I gotta watch it again.
I think it's the most rewatchable out of all the Star Trek shows, in my opinion, because it develops the characters in the show the most. You know, you don't get anywhere near the level of character development in Next Generation or Voyager that you get in Deep Space Nine with characters like Garak or Bashir or Rodo.
And it's funny how not everybody, but more and more people are, even if it's not their personal favorite, they
Mm.
acknowledge it's the most well made in terms of just story. And
And yeah, and when you think about what they were trying to do with the stories and tell, story arcs, that's what television is now and has been for the last 5 years. So they were like 20, 25 years ahead of what we are at now.
yeah, and it was almost a problem back then because they were afraid that if somebody missed an episode, they wouldn't know. But I
Yeah.
mean, just do the recaps. That's the whole point of recaps. But then you wouldn't want to see clips from an episode you missed. But yeah, if you want to join me for any future episodes that you like, at one point we're probably going to have more than one person on here. I know Duet Sean wants to do that. Also, Starfleet Boy wants to do that one. I can't. I know it's the one where it's a Kira episode. It's probably the best Kira episode of season one.
Oh, I know the one
That
you mean. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that involves the scarred Cardassian dude.
Yeah,
But
but
anyway,
that's I
yeah,
was watching. Have you watched the Rowan Coleman Deep Space Nine retrospective?
no, no.
It's like 2 hours long. I think he put it up not Sunday there, but the Sunday before. But it's really worth checking out.
What's the YouTuber's name?
He's Rowan J. Coleman. He
Oh,
does he,
Rowan.
Rowan. Yeah, I see Rowan.
Oh, okay, yeah, that guy.
Yeah,
Yeah, I should start watching more Trek YouTubers again because I kind of like fell off on all that.
his are really good because he does like a documentary part for like every movie and every season. So like, a movie documentary is maybe like 40 minutes to an hour, but then he's done the Next Generation, just finished Deep Space Nine, and they're like 2 hours a piece.
Is he a Scottish fellow?
Yes, he is. I think he's from
Oh,
up
okay.
north. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm vaguely familiar with him. I don't know why I've seen the videos like, but I've never clicked on them. I don't know why.
He's
It's
very
like
good as well as sticking to the facts. He doesn't get into all the fandom stuff either.
yeah, I don't look at a lot of retrospectives and stuff like that on old Trek because I kind of did that a lot early on.
Mm.
But I guess there's so much new content out there, like people actually making legit, thoughtful analyses and documentaries on certain shows and stuff. I gravitate toward just like analysis of news and new trailers, like Trek Yards. I always go to Trek Yards and watch those
Yeah, I was
guys.
watching Trek Yard this morning actually.
Uh,
What I like about
yeah,
them
to be
is
honest,
it's
I watch some of Trek on the tube, but anything I'm on, I don't watch.
yeah, I don't watch myself either or anything like that. There's a few times where I've went to watch Starfleet Boy when I've not been on it and I've been working, and I've actually clicked on an old stream that I was on. I was fucking horrified.
Well, again, thank you for joining me. Until next time, folks.
Yeah,
Live
no problem.
long
Thanks for having me again, man.
and prosper.